Mildred, a sick 7-year-old widow, discovers a birth certificate in her mailbox that lists her daughter-in-law Amanda as the mother and her deceased son Jack as the father of a child named Eliza. The certificate is dated 3 years after Jack's death. Confused and shocked, Mildred confronts Amanda, who turns pale and whispers, "Please, we need to talk." The date on the certificate corresponds to when Amanda mysteriously disappeared for 6 months, claiming she needed time alone to grieve. The envelope had no return address, no postmark, just my name written in unfamiliar handwriting. I stared at that birth certificate for hours, trying to make sense of it. My son Jack had been dead for 4 years now. How could he possibly father a child 3 years after his passing? And Amanda, my daughter-in-law, had never shown any signs of pregnancy. I would have noticed. We lived in the same small town of Pinecrest, only a 10-minute drive apart. We had Sunday dinners together every week, for goodness sake. Jack was my only child. After my husband Thomas died 12 years ago, Jack became my world. He was kind, responsible, and had his father's easy smile. When he brought Amanda home 6 years ago, I knew she was the one for him. They had a beautiful wedding at our local church, with autumn leaves swirling around them as they exited into their new life together. They tried for children right away, but month after month, year after year, no baby came. "It's not in the cards for us, Mom," Jack had told me once, his voice heavy with disappointment. Amanda had cried in my kitchen more than once about their struggles. The fertility treatments were expensive, physically taxing, and emotionally draining. They had just started looking into adoption when the accident happened. Black ice on Johnson's Curve. Jack's truck flipped 3 times before hitting a tree. He was gone instantly, they told me. No suffering. As if that made it easier. Amanda fell apart. She stayed in bed for weeks. I brought her food, cleaned her house, sat with her while she stared blankly at the walls. Then, about 6 months after Jack's funeral, she announced she needed time away to heal. "I'm going to stay with my cousin in Oregon for a while," she'd said. Not quite meeting my eyes. "I need a change of scenery." She was gone for 6 months. When she returned, something had changed. She seemed guarded. We still had our Sunday dinners, but she kept conversations superficial. When I asked about her time away, she gave vague answers about healing and finding herself. I didn't push. Grief does strange things to people, and we were both still finding our way through it. And now this birth certificate. A child named Eliza Thompson, born at Mercy General Hospital in Portland, Oregon. Mother, Amanda Thompson. Father, Jack Thompson. Date of birth, June 14th, 3 years after my son's death. I called Amanda immediately after finding it. "I need to see you," I said, my voice shaking. "Today." "Mildred, what's wrong?" She sounded alarmed. "I received something in the mail. Something impossible." There was a pause on the line. "I'll be there in an hour." I paced my living room, the birth certificate clutched in my hand, waiting for Amanda to arrive. When she finally did, her normally healthy complexion was ashen. I silently handed her the certificate. Her hands trembled as she read it. Then she looked up at me, her blue eyes filling with tears. "Please, we need to talk." But then her phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and the little color left in her face drained completely away. "I can't do this now," she whispered, backing toward the door. "I'll come back tomorrow. I promise. Keep that certificate safe, Mildred. Don't show it to anyone." "Amanda, you can't just leave. You owe me an explanation." "Tomorrow," she insisted, already halfway out the door. "Please trust me." And then she was gone, leaving me standing in my living room, more confused than ever. I collapsed onto my sofa, the certificate still in my hand. That's when I noticed Amanda had left her purse behind in her rush to leave. I wasn't proud of what I did next. But can you blame me? I opened it, telling myself I was just looking for more information about this mysterious child who was supposedly my grandchild. Inside the main compartment was nothing unusual. Car keys, wallet, tissues, lip balm, but in a zippered side pocket, I found a small, folded photograph. When I opened it, my heart nearly stopped. A little girl with curly blonde hair and bright green eyes smiled at the camera. She was holding a stuffed elephant and wearing overalls. But it wasn't just any little girl. She had Jack's eyes, Jack's smile, the same dimple in her left cheek. She looked exactly like Jack did in his childhood photos. I sat there, staring at the picture of this little girl who could only be my grandchild, and felt my world shifting beneath my feet. Sleep eluded me that night. I sat up in my armchair until 3 in the morning, studying the birth certificate and the photo of the little girl who looked so much like my Jack. I made notes of all the inconsistencies, all the questions that tumbled through my mind. How could Jack be listed as the father when he had been dead for a year before this child was conceived? Amanda had never been pregnant. I was certain of that. We saw each other too frequently for her to have hidden a pregnancy from me. And why would she? We had both wanted a grandchild for Jack so badly. The next morning, bleary-eyed and running on nothing but black coffee and confusion, I called my friend Geraldine. We'd been friends since high school. And if anyone could help me make sense of this situation, it would be her. A birth certificate? With Jack as the father? That's not possible, Geraldine said after I explained everything. Have you called the hospital listed on the certificate? Not yet. That's a good idea. I hung up and immediately dialed Mercy General in Portland. After being transferred 3 times, I finally reached someone in their records department. I'm trying to confirm a birth that occurred at your hospital, I said, giving the date and names from the certificate. I'm sorry, ma'am. We have no record of that birth, the clerk told me. Are you sure it was our hospital? The birth certificate says so. Well, I can tell you we have no record of an Eliza Thompson born on that date. Or any Thompson that month. Is it possible the records were misplaced somehow? Very unlikely. But I can tell you the certificate format looks legitimate from what you've described. Same watermark and state seal as genuine Oregon certificates. After hanging up, I felt even more confused. A seemingly authentic certificate, but no hospital records? None of this made sense. When Amanda arrived later that morning, she looked like she hadn't slept either. Dark circles underlined her eyes, and her usually neat blonde hair was pulled back in a hasty ponytail. You left your purse yesterday, I said by way of greeting, handing it to her. Her eyes widened. Did you look inside? I found the picture, Amanda. She looks just like Jack. Amanda sank onto my sofa, her shoulders slumping in defeat. I wanted to tell you, so many times. But it's complicated, Mildred. Dangerous, even. Start talking, I said, sitting across from her. Who is Eliza? How is she, Jack's daughter? Amanda took a deep breath. Do you remember when Jack and I were trying fertility treatments? I nodded. They had spent thousands of dollars, gone through multiple procedures. The disappointment had weighed heavily on them both. What you didn't know was that we succeeded, in a way, Amanda continued. They harvested my eggs, and Jack provided samples. They created embryos, 5 viable embryos, frozen for future use. I gasped. You never told me. We wanted to wait until there was a successful pregnancy. No point getting your hopes up. Amanda twisted her wedding ring, a nervous habit she'd had since I met her. Then Jack died, and I couldn't bear to think about those embryos. Our potential children, frozen in some lab. But about a year later, I started thinking, they were all I had left of Jack. His genetic legacy. So you used one of the embryos? I asked, trying to understand. I contacted the fertility clinic. The embryos were still viable. I could use them, even as a widow. But I couldn't carry them myself. I have a heart condition that would make pregnancy dangerous, so I found a surrogate. A woman willing to carry our child. In Oregon? Amanda nodded. My cousin Diane really does live there. I stayed with her while everything was arranged. The surrogate lived nearby. And Eliza? She's real? She's Jack's daughter? My voice cracked. I had a granddaughter out there. Yes. She's 3 years old now. She's beautiful, Mildred. So smart. So much like Jack. Why didn't you tell me? I demanded, anger finally breaking through my shock. How could you keep my grandchild from me? Because of what happened with the surrogate, Amanda's voice dropped to a whisper. There were complications, legal issues, people who think they have a claim to Eliza. Her phone buzzed again. She pulled it out, read the screen, and her face went white. They know I'm here, she said, standing abruptly. I have to go. Who knows you're here? Amanda, stop. You can't keep running away from this conversation. But she was already heading for the door. I've said too much already. They're watching. I'll contact you when it's safe. Who's watching? Amanda. But she was gone, leaving me with even more questions than before. Embryos? A surrogate? Legal complications? And who was watching her? I stood in my doorway, watching her car speed down my quiet street, and realized with absolute certainty that whatever was happening was far more complicated and dangerous than I had initially thought. The fertility clinic was called New Life Beginnings, located in a gleaming office building in Portland. I'd found their business card tucked into the zippered pocket of Amanda's purse, along with the photo of Eliza. I knew it was a long shot to fly across the country on such flimsy evidence, but I had to know the truth. I had to find my granddaughter. After booking the first available flight and a rental car, I found myself standing in the clinic's reception area 2 days later. The place was all soft lighting and comfortable furniture, with a water feature bubbling quietly in one corner. Photos of smiling babies lined the walls. I'd like to speak with someone about my son and daughter-in-law, I told the receptionist. Jack and Amanda Thompson. They were patients here about 4 years ago. The receptionist tapped at her computer, then frowned slightly. I'm not seeing any record of those patients. Are you sure they came to this clinic? I showed her the business card. This is your clinic, isn't it? Yes, but... She shook her head. Let me check with our office manager. She disappeared through a door, returning a few minutes later with a stern-looking woman in a tailored suit. I'm Dr. Caroline Weston, the director here, she said, her voice clipped and professional. I understand you're inquiring about past patients? I repeated my story, showing her the birth certificate. Dr. Weston barely glanced at it. I'm afraid we have no record of treating the Thompsons. And we certainly never facilitated any surrogate arrangements after a father's death. That would be ethically questionable. But they were here, I insisted. They created embryos. If that were the case, we would have records, she replied, her tone making it clear the conversation was over. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have patients to attend to. I stood my ground. What about the surrogate? A woman who gave birth to Eliza Thompson 3 years ago? Dr. Weston's expression hardened. Security will show you out if you continue to harass our staff with these questions. Defeated, I turned to leave. As I reached the door, a young nurse touched my elbow. Ma'am? I might be able to help, she whispered. Meet me at the coffee shop across the street when my shift ends. 4 o'clock. Hope flickered in my chest as I nodded and left. I spent the next few hours in the coffee shop, checking my watch every few minutes. At 10 after 4, the nurse walked in. She was young, maybe 30, with dark hair pulled back in a neat bun. I'm Lisa, she said, sliding into the seat across from me. I heard what you were asking about, the Thompson case. So they were patients there? Lisa nodded. Yes, but their records have been sealed. Restricted access. I only know because I assisted with their procedures before everything went sideways. What do you mean, sideways? They were part of a special program. Very hush-hush. I probably shouldn't be telling you this, but... She leaned closer. Your son and daughter-in-law's case wasn't the only one where records disappeared. There have been others. What kind of program? Lisa glanced around nervously. Advanced genetic work. Beyond what most fertility clinics offer. Dr. Weston has connections to private research funding. Rich clients with specific requests. A chill ran down my spine. What kind of requests? I don't know all the details. Just that certain embryos received special attention before implantation. She checked her watch. I need to go. Be careful, Mrs. Thompson. The people involved in this program are powerful. They don't like questions. As Lisa hurried out, I noticed a black SUV with tinted windows parked across the street. The same vehicle I'd glimpsed earlier outside my hotel. A coincidence? Back in my hotel room, I tried calling Amanda again. Still no answer. I was about to try Geraldine when my phone rang, displaying an unknown number. Mrs. Thompson? The voice was male, deep, unfamiliar. This is a courtesy call. Stop asking questions about new life beginnings. Go home and forget what you've learned. Who is this? I demanded. How did you get my number? Your next warning won't be so polite. The line went dead. With shaking hands, I called Frank Sullivan, my late husband's best friend and a retired police detective. If anyone could help me navigate this increasingly frightening situation, it would be Frank. Mildred? Everything okay? Frank's gruff voice was reassuringly familiar. No, Frank, it's not. I need your help. I explained everything, from the birth certificate to the threatening phone call. Stay put, he said. I'm catching the next flight out. And Mildred? Don't leave your hotel room until I get there. Frank arrived the next morning, his imposing 6'2" frame and silver hair a welcome sight. Despite being in his 70s, he still had the sharp eyes and confident bearing of his days on the force. Let me see this birth certificate, he said after settling into my hotel room. I handed it over, watching as he examined it carefully, holding it up to the light. Good quality, he murmured. Professional work. But I have contacts in Oregon's Vital Records Department. Give me an hour. While Frank made his calls, I paced the room, jumping at every sound from the hallway. Was I being paranoid? Or was someone really after me because of my questions? It's a fake, Frank announced finally. A damn good one, but definitely not registered with the state. Someone went to a lot of trouble to create this document. But why? What's the point of creating a fake birth certificate? That's what we need to find out. Frank frowned. And we need to locate Amanda. I don't like that she's gone silent after warning you about danger. A knock at the hotel room door made us both freeze. Frank motioned for me to stay back as he approached cautiously, one hand inside his jacket where I knew he kept his licensed firearm even in retirement. He checked the peephole, then relaxed slightly. Room service. Did you order anything? No, I replied. Alarm it. Frank opened the door cautiously. There was no one there, just a manila envelope on the floor. He picked it up carefully, using a handkerchief to avoid touching it directly. Inside was a small, leather-bound book, Jack's journal. The one he'd kept private, that had gone missing after his death. And a note, the truth is in his own words. I never knew Jack kept a journal, I said, staring at the familiar handwriting. It was definitely Jack's tight, neat script. Frank and I sat side by side on the hotel bed, turning the pages carefully. Most entries were mundane daily accounts. But then we found entries from 5 years ago, around the time he and Amanda were deep into fertility treatments. Got the results today, one entry read. Dr. Evans confirmed what Dad's doctors always suspected. The heart condition is genetic. There's a 50% chance I'll pass it on to any children Amanda and I might have. A death sentence hanging over an innocent child before they're even born. How can I do that? But how can I tell Amanda we need to stop trying? This baby means everything to her. I pressed a hand to my mouth. Thomas, my husband, had died of a heart condition, but his doctors had never suggested it might be hereditary. He never told me, I whispered. There's more, Frank said, pointing to a later entry. Dr. Weston approached me after the appointment today. Said New Life Beginnings has a special research program. They can identify and modify the genes that cause my heart condition in the embryos. Essentially remove the defect before implantation. It sounds like science fiction, but she assures me the technology exists. It's experimental, not FDA approved, but they've had successes. The catch? It's expensive, and I'd need to participate in their ongoing research, provide additional samples, agree to monitoring. I haven't told Amanda yet. She's so conventional about medical stuff. always wanting second opinions and peer-reviewed studies. But what if this is our only chance for a healthy child? The entries continued, detailing Jack's secret participation in what the clinic called the Prometheus Initiative. He provided multiple samples, underwent additional testing, all without telling Amanda. "I know I should tell her," he wrote, "but every time I try, I see the hope in her eyes about starting our family, and I can't bear to complicate things. Dr. Weston says our embryos are responding well to the gene editing. We're getting closer." The final entry was dated just 2 weeks before his fatal accident. "Something feels off about the program. Dr. Weston is pushing for more samples, more tests. Yesterday, she asked if I'd consider bone marrow donation. Said it would help with their research, but it feels excessive. And I met one of their donors in the waiting room today. He mentioned something about cognitive enhancement options that didn't sound like it was just about eliminating disease. I'm starting to wonder what I've gotten myself into. Going to do some digging before proceeding further." Frank and I looked at each other, the implications sinking in. "He was having second thoughts," I said, "about whatever this Prometheus initiative really was. And 2 weeks later, he died in an accident," Frank added grimly. "You don't think." "I don't know, Mildred. But none of this sits right with me." My phone rang, startling us both. Unknown number. With trembling fingers, I answered and put it on speaker. "Mildred?" It was Amanda. Her voice hushed and urgent. "Are you alone?" "I'm with Frank Sullivan, Jack's father's friend. He's helping me. You need to be careful. They know you're in Portland. They know you visited the clinic." "Who's they, Amanda? What's going on?" "I can't talk long. I'm using a burner phone. But you need to know, Eliza is real. She's Jack's daughter. She's in danger, Mildred. We both are. Where are you?" "Let us help you. The Bluebird Motel, just outside of Carson City. Room 12. Come alone, and hurry." The line went dead. "Carson City?" Frank frowned. "That's in Nevada. She's on the move. We need to go," I insisted, already reaching for my suitcase. "It could be a trap," Frank warned. "Or my granddaughter could be in danger," I countered. "I have to go." We caught the next flight to Reno and drove the 30 miles to Carson City. The Bluebird Motel was a rundown place just off the highway, the kind where rooms were rented by the week and questions weren't asked. Room 12 was empty. Amanda and Eliza were gone, but they had clearly been there. A child's sweater lay forgotten on the bed. Crayons and coloring books were scattered on the small table, and pinned to the bathroom mirror was a note. "Had to run. They found us. Check under the mattress." Frank lifted the sagging mattress, revealing a sealed envelope. Inside were photos of Eliza, drawings she had made, and a USB drive. "We need a computer," Frank said. Back in our own motel room, we plugged the drive into my laptop. It contained files, hundreds of them, all labeled with alphanumeric codes. Medical charts, lab results, research protocols. Most of it was technical jargon beyond my understanding. But the implications were clear. The Prometheus Initiative wasn't just about removing genetic defects. It was about enhancement, creating children with predetermined traits. "My God," I whispered. "What did they do to Eliza?" A knock at the door made us both jump. Frank motioned for me to stay silent as he approached cautiously, looking through the peephole. "It's a woman," he said quietly. "Young, blonde. Not Amanda." "Don't open it," I whispered. But the woman called out, "Mrs. Thompson? I know you're in there. I have information about Eliza." Frank opened the door a crack, keeping his body in the way. "Who are you?" "My name is Patricia Winters. I was Jack's first wife." The shock nearly knocked me off my feet. "Jack was never married before Amanda," I protested as Frank reluctantly let the woman in. Patricia was striking, with sharp features and cool blue eyes. "We were married for 11 months, 6 years ago. It was annulled. Jack probably never told you because it was such a disaster." "Why should I believe you?" I demanded. She produced a driver's license and an old photograph showing her and a younger Jack, arms around each other, standing on a beach. "We met in college," Patricia explained. "Married young, Realized quickly we'd made a mistake. But before we split, we participated in a research study at New Life Beginnings. Genetic compatibility testing, they called it. They collected samples from us both. The Prometheus Initiative, I said. Patricia's eyes widened. You know about that? Not enough. But I know my son was involved, even years later with Amanda. Patricia nodded grimly. After Jack died, they contacted me. Said they had embryos created from his and my genetic material, modified for exceptional potential. They offered me a chance to have his child. That's impossible, I said, anger rising. Jack would never have agreed to have a child with you after you divorced. He didn't need to agree. They had his samples, his DNA. The consent forms we signed years ago gave them broad rights. It was predatory, targeting college students who needed money. Are you saying... I couldn't even finish the question. Eliza is my daughter with Jack, Patricia stated flatly. I carried her, gave birth to her, but Amanda found out somehow. She came to me when Eliza was just 6 months old, claiming Jack had told her about me, about the program. She said she had legal documents proving she had rights to any children created from Jack's genetic material. And you believed her? Frank asked skeptically. The documents looked legitimate. She had lawyers threatening me with court battles I couldn't afford. Patricia's voice cracked. She took my baby, Mildred. She stole my daughter. I didn't know what to believe anymore. Could Amanda have done something so desperate, so wrong? Or was Patricia lying? Where's your proof? Frank demanded. Birth records? Documentation? Patricia pulled out her phone, showing us photos of herself clearly pregnant, hospital records, and a birth certificate listing her as the mother of Eliza Winters. Not Eliza Thompson. If what you're saying is true, I said slowly, then the birth certificate I received, listing Amanda as the mother, is definitely fake. Of course it's fake, Patricia snapped. She's been living a lie, pretending Eliza is hers. She disappeared with my daughter 3 years ago. I've been searching ever since. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. A video attachment. With shaking hands, I opened it. Amanda's face filled the screen, her eyes red-rimmed but determined. Beside her was a little girl with curly blonde hair. Jack's eyes. Jack's smile. My granddaughter. Mildred, if you're watching this, don't believe Patricia Winters. She's working with them. The people behind the Prometheus Initiative. Eliza is in danger. We're hiding at my grandmother's old cabin in Lake Tahoe. Please come. And please, be careful who you trust. She's lying, Patricia insisted, her face flushed with anger after watching the video. I'm Eliza's mother. Amanda is the one working with the Prometheus people. Frank and I exchanged glances. 2 women, both claiming to be Eliza's mother, both accusing the other of deception and danger. Who was telling the truth? You said the initiative contacted you after Jack died, I said to Patricia, watching her carefully. What exactly did they tell you? That they had embryos from when Jack and I participated in their study years ago. They said the embryos had been preserved and modified to eliminate genetic defects, including Jack's heart condition. And you just agreed? To have a baby from embryos created years after your relationship ended? Patricia's eyes shifted away momentarily. I still cared for Jack. We'd stayed in touch, occasionally. When he died, it felt like a second chance, a way to keep part of him alive. Something about her story didn't add up. If she and Jack had remained in contact, why had he never mentioned her? And why would she give up so easily if Amanda had truly stolen her child? Do you have any proof beyond these photos and birth certificate? Legal records of your fight to get Eliza back? Patricia hesitated. The lawyers advised me to wait, build a stronger case. For 3 years? Frank asked skeptically. Most mothers I know would move heaven and earth to get their child back immediately. You don't understand the kind of power these people have, Patricia snapped. I tried going to the police initially. They didn't believe me. Amanda had everything planned so carefully. I thought about Jack's journal, his increasing concerns about the Prometheus Initiative. about the threatening call I'd received, about Lisa, the nurse who had warned me about powerful people involved. "I need time to think," I said finally. "This is overwhelming." Patricia stood. "I'm staying at the Riverside Inn, room 304. When you're ready to help me get my daughter back, call me." She placed a business card on the table and left. As soon as the door closed, Frank pulled out his phone. "I'm calling in some favors. I want to know everything about Patricia Winters." While Frank made his calls, I rewatched Amanda's video, studying the little girl beside her. Eliza looked healthy, happy, if a bit solemn. She had Jack's features, but something in her steady gaze reminded me of Amanda, too. The way she observed everything around her with quiet attention. An hour later, Frank had news. Patricia Winters was released from Lakewood Psychiatric Hospital 8 months ago, after a 6-month involuntary commitment. Diagnosis: delusional disorder with obsessive tendencies. She's mentally ill? According to her records, she developed an obsession with a former boyfriend who died, created an elaborate fantasy about having his child. She's been in and out of treatment for years. "Jack," I whispered. "She was obsessed with Jack. There's more. She has a restraining order against her, filed by Amanda 3 years ago. She was caught trying to break into Amanda's house multiple times. The police reports mention her claiming a child was being kept there illegally. So Amanda is telling the truth? Patricia is dangerous? It seems likely. But that still doesn't explain everything about this Prometheus initiative. Or why Amanda kept Eliza's existence from you for 3 years." My phone buzzed with another text. Another video from Amanda. This time, Eliza spoke. "Hi, Grandma. Mommy says you're coming to see us. I have a drawing for you." She held up a crayon picture of 3 stick figures, labeled Mommy, me, and Grandma. Tears filled my eyes. My granddaughter. Jack's daughter. She was real. "I think we need to go to Lake Tahoe," I told Frank. "Right now." We drove through the night, reaching the mountains by dawn. Amanda's grandmother's cabin was remote, accessed by a winding dirt road that tested our rental car's suspension. The small wooden structure came into view just as the sun crested the mountains. Smoke curled from the chimney, and a child's bicycle leaned against the porch. We were in the right place. Amanda must have heard our approach because she was waiting on the porch, a baseball bat in hand, her expression shifting from fear to relief when she recognized us. "You came," she breathed, lowering the bat. "Thank God." And then a small figure darted out from behind her. Eliza, even more beautiful in person than in photos. Her blonde curls bounced as she ran toward me, stopping a few feet away, suddenly shy. "Are you my grandma?" she asked, her head tilted curiously. I knelt down to her level, my heart expanding in my chest. "Yes, sweetheart. I'm your grandma, Mildred. Mommy has your picture on our fridge," she informed me solemnly. "She says you make the best chocolate chip cookies in the world." "She's right about that," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "And I'll make you some very soon." Amanda ushered us inside, constantly glancing nervously toward the road. The cabin was small but cozy, with obvious signs of hasty preparation for long-term stay. Canned goods lined the counter. Suitcases sat half unpacked in corners. While Eliza colored at the kitchen table, Amanda, Frank, and I sat in the tiny living room, speaking in hushed tones. "We met Patricia," I told her. "She claims to be Eliza's biological mother." Amanda's face hardened. "She's dangerous, Mildred. Unstable. She's been stalking us for years." Frank confirmed she has psychiatric issues and a restraining order. "But Amanda, I need the whole truth now. No more secrets. How is Eliza really Jack's daughter?" Amanda took a deep breath. "After Jack died, I was lost. The grief was consuming. About a year after his death, I received a call from Dr. Caroline Weston at New Life Beginnings. She said they still had our embryos in storage, and if I wanted, I could still have Jack's child. Through a surrogate, like you told me before?" Amanda nodded. "A woman named Sarah Miller. She was young, healthy, had been a surrogate twice before. Everything seemed legitimate. I used our savings, took a loan against the house. It cost nearly $100,000. But I was desperate for a piece of Jack to live on. "What happened to Sarah?" Frank asked. Amanda's eyes filled with tears. "She died during childbirth. An amniotic fluid embolism. It's rare, usually unpreventable. But afterward, while arranging the death certificate and Eliza's birth certificate, I discovered discrepancies. Medical records that didn't match what I'd been told. When I started asking questions, Dr. Weston became evasive. "And the Prometheus Initiative?" I prompted. I found files in their office during a follow-up appointment. Jack had been participating in some kind of enhanced genetic program without my knowledge. They weren't just removing the heart defect gene, Mildred. They were adding things. Modifying Eliza before she was even an embryo. "Adding what?" Frank asked. Amanda glanced toward Eliza, who was now building with blocks, constructing a complex structure that seemed far beyond what a 3-year-old should be capable of. "Cognitive enhancements," she whispered. Eliza started talking in full sentences at 18 months. She can already read simple books. Her memory is extraordinary. As if on cue, Eliza looked up. "Mommy, remember that song from the radio yesterday? The one that played 3 times?" She proceeded to sing a complex melody, perfectly in tune, recalling all the lyrics without hesitation. "That's why they want her back," Amanda continued after Eliza returned to her blocks. "She's proof their program works. Their perfect prototype." When I realized what they'd done, I took Eliza and ran. That's when Patricia showed up, claiming to be Eliza's real mother. "But she's working with them, Mildred. She's their plant, their way to legally reclaim Eliza." "How do you know Sarah Miller was the real surrogate? That she really died?" Frank pressed. "I attended her funeral, met her parents. They confirmed she'd been a surrogate several times. And I have the original birth certificate listing her as the birth mother and me as the intended mother. Everything legal and above board, until I started finding inconsistencies. And you didn't tell me about any of this because I was afraid," Amanda admitted. "The people behind Prometheus, they're not just doctors. There's big money involved. Wealthy families funding human genetic enhancement. They made threats. Implied they could take Eliza away, claim I wasn't fit. And then they started watching the house, following me. I couldn't risk them finding out about you, using you to get to us." A car engine sounded on the dirt road outside. Amanda froze, her face draining of color. "Take Eliza to the back bedroom," she whispered urgently. "The closet has a false back. Hide there." Frank moved to the window, peering cautiously through the curtains. Black SUV, 3 men in suits, and Patricia's with them. My heart hammered in my chest as Amanda rushed Eliza toward the back of the cabin. I followed, helping them squeeze into the hidden space behind the closet. "Whatever happens, keep her safe," Amanda pleaded, pressing Eliza's small hand into mine before closing the false panel. In the cramped, dark space, Eliza looked up at me with Jack's green eyes. "Are the bad people here?" she whispered. "Don't worry," I murmured, holding her close. "Your grandma won't let anything happen to you." From our hiding place, we could hear muffled voices. Frank and Amanda confronting the intruders. A man's deep voice demanding to know where the child was. Patricia's higher pitch, insistent, angry. "She belongs with us," the man was saying. "The Walker family has invested millions in the Prometheus Initiative. Eliza is proof of concept, the first of a new generation of enhanced humans. She's a child, not a science experiment," Frank growled. "A child with extraordinary potential," the man continued. "Potential that needs proper nurturing and continued monitoring. Mrs. Thompson is in no position to provide what Eliza needs. And you think Patricia is better suited?" Amanda's voice was scornful. "A woman with documented psychiatric problems? Patricia has been thoroughly evaluated and treated. She understands the importance of our work. She'll provide a stable home while allowing us necessary access to monitor Eliza's development. You're not taking my daughter, Amanda stated firmly. There was a pause. Then the man's voice turned menacing. We have resources you can't imagine, Mrs. Thompson. Legal, financial, political. We can make it appear you kidnapped Eliza from her rightful mother. We can freeze your assets, blacklist you from employment. Or we can be generous. A new identity, financial security. All you have to do is step aside. Beside me in the dark. Eliza squeezed my hand. Grandma, she whispered. I can help. I know what to do. Before I could stop her, she pushed open the false panel and walked calmly into the room where the adults were facing off. Elisa, Amanda gasped. The little girl stood straight, her gaze direct and unafraid as she looked at the strangers. You're the people who changed my genes, she said, her voice clear and far too mature for a 3-year-old. You made me different. The 3 men stared, clearly startled by her vocabulary and poise. Patricia stepped forward, arms outstretched. Eliza, sweetheart, come to your real mother. Eliza shook her head. You're not my mother. My mommy is Amanda. My daddy was Jack. You're the lady who follows us and takes pictures when you think we don't see. You see, gentlemen? Patricia said, trying to recover. Her intelligence, her perception, this is what the Prometheus Initiative achieved. And it was wrong, Eliza stated. You can't own people. Not even little ones you helped make. I emerged from hiding, standing beside my granddaughter. She's right. Whatever you did to her DNA, Eliza is a human being, not property. And she's my family. The lead man, tall and silver-haired, adjusted his expensive suit. Mrs. Thompson, surely you understand the significance of what your granddaughter represents? The Walker family merely wants to ensure her unique abilities are nurtured properly. By taking her from her mother? By using a mentally unstable woman as your puppet? I challenged. I'm not unstable, Patricia protested. I'm Eliza's biological mother. No, you're not, Frank said, stepping forward with his phone held up. I've been recording this entire conversation, including Mr. Walker here admitting to genetic experimentation on human embryos, which I believe violates several federal laws, and admitting to using coercion and threats against Amanda. The man called Walker stiffened. You're bluffing. And even if you weren't, no one would believe you over the Walker family. Maybe not, Frank agreed. But I still have friends in federal law enforcement. Friends who would be very interested in unauthorized human genetic modification. The FBI doesn't care how rich you are when it comes to bioethics violations. For the first time, uncertainty flickered across Walker's face. And then there's this, I added, pulling out Jack's journal from my purse. My son's detailed account of your initiative. How you pressured him, how he was having doubts. Right before his convenient accident. We had nothing to do with Jack Thompson's death, Walker said quickly. Too quickly. Perhaps, I replied. But are you willing to risk an investigation? The publicity? What would your shareholders think about the Walker biotech empire being associated with illegal genetic experimentation on children? The room fell silent, as Walker considered his options, his cold eyes calculating risks and benefits. What do you want? He finally asked. For you to leave my family alone, I stated firmly. Permanently. No monitoring, no following, no threats. Amanda and Eliza live their lives free of your interference. Impossible. Eliza is too valuable to our research. Then I start making calls, Frank said, his finger hovering over his phone, beginning with an FBI contact who specializes in bioethics violations. Walker's jaw tightened. You're making a mistake. Eliza's abilities will need guidance, specialized education. We'll manage, Amanda said, moving to stand protectively beside her daughter. Without your kind of help. As the standoff continued, Eliza surprised everyone by walking directly up to Walker, her small face solemn. You made me smart, but you forgot to make me not have feelings. I love my mommy. I want to stay with her, and now I have a grandma too. Even Walker seemed taken aback by the child's directness. For a moment, his mask slipped, revealing something almost like shame. This isn't over, he said, but his voice lacked conviction. He turned to his associates. "We're leaving." Patricia began to protest, but one of Walker's men took her arm, guiding her firmly toward the door. "Patricia needs help," Amanda said as they left. "Real help, not exploitation." Walker paused at the threshold. "You don't understand what you're giving up. What she could become with our guidance." "What she'll become is a loved child who gets to have a normal life," I replied. "That's worth more than all your enhancements." After they left, we stood in silence, listening to the SUV drive away. None of us quite believing we'd won. "Will they really leave us alone?" Amanda asked Frank. "They might," he said. "Rich people hate scandal more than anything. But we should keep the evidence safe, just in case." Eliza tugged at my hand. "Are you going to stay with us now, Grandma?" Looking into those intelligent green eyes, so like Jack's yet entirely her own, I felt a profound sense of purpose wash over me. This extraordinary child was my second chance, my family's future. "Yes, sweetheart," I promised. "Grandma is staying." The first month after our confrontation with the Walker family was tense. We moved Amanda and Eliza into my house in Pinecrest, installing new security systems and keeping a watchful eye for black SUVs or any sign we were being monitored. Frank stayed in the guest room, his law enforcement background providing an extra layer of protection and peace of mind. Slowly, life began to settle into something resembling normal. Eliza flourished under the stability of our combined care. Her intelligence remained remarkable, but in the safety of our home, she also displayed the typical behaviors of any 3-year-old: stubborn tantrums, silly giggles, and an insatiable curiosity about everything around her. "Do you think they've really given up?" Amanda asked one evening as we sat on the porch swing, watching Eliza and Frank build an elaborate fort from sofa cushions in the living room. "I don't know," I admitted. "But Frank's contacts haven't reported any unusual inquiries about us. And the flash drive you had, with all the Prometheus files, gives us leverage." Amanda nodded, though worry still lined her face. "I should have told you about her from the beginning. I was so afraid." I patted her hand. "You did what you thought was best to protect her. But we're stronger together." The truth was, despite the circumstances, I was happier than I'd been since losing Jack. Having Eliza in my life brought back joy I thought was gone forever. She had Jack's laugh, his stubborn chin, his way of tilting his head when considering a problem, but she was her own person too, with Amanda's gentleness and a wisdom that seemed to come from somewhere else entirely. One morning, about 6 weeks after the confrontation at the cabin, I woke to find Eliza sitting on the foot of my bed, watching me with solemn eyes. "Good morning, sweetheart," I said, sitting up. "You're up early. The bad people are coming back," she said matter-of-factly. A chill ran through me. "What makes you say that?" "I heard them in my dream. They were talking about me. They said they need to finish what they started." I wanted to dismiss it as a child's nightmare, but something in her steady gaze stopped me. Eliza's perceptions had proven unusually accurate before. "Let's go find your mom and Frank," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "We'll make sure everyone's safe." In the kitchen, Amanda was already making coffee while Frank read the newspaper. Both looked up as we entered, immediately sensing something was wrong. "Eliza thinks the Walker people might be coming back," I explained. Frank frowned. "Any particular reason, kiddo?" "I saw them in my dream," Eliza insisted. "The silver-haired man and a doctor lady. They were looking at pictures of my brain." Amanda and I exchanged glances. We hadn't told Eliza about the brain scans the Prometheus Initiative had performed on her as an infant, detailed in the files on the flash drive. "It was just a dream," Amanda soothed, coming to kneel beside her daughter. "But we'll be extra careful today, okay?" Eliza shook her head stubbornly. "It wasn't just a dream. They're coming today. The lady doctor wants to take me to a special school." Frank stood. "I'll do a perimeter check. Maybe call in a few favors. See if there's been any unusual activity around the Walker family." He squeezed Eliza's shoulder gently. "Don't worry, Squirt. Nobody's taking you anywhere." But by afternoon, Frank's contacts had troubling news. Caroline Weston, the doctor from New Life Beginnings, had boarded a private jet registered to Walker Biotech that morning. Destination: our local regional airport, just 30 miles away. We need to be ready, Frank said grimly. They might try legal channels this time. Falsified custody documents, claims of medical necessity. Or they might just try to take her, Amanda said, her face pale with fear. Like they threatened before. We moved quickly, gathering emergency bags, making contingency plans. I contacted my attorney, ensuring our legal protections were in place. Amanda began moving Eliza's things to the basement panic room Frank had insisted on installing. As dusk fell, the distinctive sound of tires on gravel alerted us to visitors. Frank moved to the security monitors he'd installed. Black sedan, government plates, he reported. 2 individuals. 1 male, 1 female. The female appears to be Dr. Weston. And the man? Amanda asked, clutching Eliza's hand. Not Walker. Younger. Suit. Could be legal representation. We positioned ourselves strategically, Eliza and Amanda in the panic room, ready to lock down if necessary. Frank and I went to answer the door, the flash drive with incriminating evidence in my pocket like a talisman. Dr. Caroline Weston stood on my porch, looking more severe than I remembered from the clinic. Beside her was a thin man with wire-rimmed glasses and a tablet computer. Mrs. Thompson, Weston greeted me, her smile not reaching her eyes. We need to speak with you regarding your granddaughter. You have no business here, I replied coolly. We made ourselves clear at Lake Tahoe. That was an unfortunate misunderstanding, Weston said smoothly. Mr. Walker was overzealous in his approach. We're here with a more reasonable proposition. The answer is still no, Frank stated firmly. Whatever you're selling, we're not buying. The man beside Weston cleared his throat. Perhaps you'd be interested to know that we've been monitoring Eliza's development from afar. Her cognitive abilities are continuing to advance at an unprecedented rate. Without proper guidance, she could face serious psychological consequences. We've managed just fine, I replied. Have you? Weston countered. Has she told you about her dreams? Her headaches? The way she sometimes knows things she shouldn't possibly know? My heart stuttered. Eliza had indeed mentioned strange dreams. Occasional pain behind her eyes. All children have dreams, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Not like Eliza's, Weston pressed. Her brain is developing neural pathways that aren't typically present in humans. It's a direct result of the genetic modifications. She needs specialized care, Mrs. Thompson. Care only we can provide. The same care that involved threatening her mother and using an unstable woman as your puppet? Frank challenged. The thin man stepped forward. We have court orders, Mrs. Thompson. Medical intervention orders signed by a judge, citing concerns for Eliza's health and development. He held out a sheaf of official-looking documents. You can make this difficult, or you can cooperate. Either way, we'll be taking Eliza for evaluation. Those papers are fraudulent, Frank stated. And you won't be taking anyone. I assure you, they're quite legitimate, the man replied. Signed by Judge William Pearson of the District Court. You can call to verify if you wish. A sick feeling washed over me. Judge Pearson was known to be in the pocket of powerful interests. If the Walker family had gotten to him, let me see those, I demanded, taking the papers and scanning them quickly. They looked authentic, citing urgent medical necessity and specialized developmental needs as justification for removing Eliza from our care. You have no right, I began, but Weston cut me off. We have every right. The Walker Institute has been designated as Eliza's medical guardian for purposes of evaluation and treatment. Now, where is she? We can make this transition easy on her, or traumatic. Your choice. From behind us, a small voice spoke. I'm right here. We all turned to see Eliza standing in the hallway, having slipped out of the panic room without Amanda noticing. Eliza, go back downstairs, I urged, but she walked forward with determined steps. Hello, Dr. Weston, she said, her voice steady despite her small stature. I knew you were coming. Weston's professional demeanor slipped for a moment, revealing genuine surprise. You remembered me? You were only an infant when I last examined you. I remember everything, Eliza stated simply. I remember the tests, the lights, the needles. I remember you talking about my brain being special. The doctor and her companion exchanged significant glances. Then you understand why you need to come with us, Weston said, her voice gentler now, coaxing. We can help you develop your potential. Understand the gifts you've been given. They're not gifts, Eliza replied. They're experiments. You changed me before I was born. Without asking. Amanda appeared now, rushing to Eliza's side. You're not taking her anywhere. Mrs. Thompson, we have legal authority, the thin man insisted, tapping the documents. Don't make us call for police assistance. Call whoever you want, Frank growled. Those papers won't stand up once a judge sees what we have. He gestured to the flash drive in my hand. Complete records of illegal genetic experimentation, coercion, threats, even potential connection to Jack Thompson's suspicious death. Weston's face hardened. You're making serious accusations without evidence. Oh, we have evidence, I assured her. Enough to interest not just the courts, but the FBI, the Medical Licensing Board, and the national media. Mrs. Thompson. Weston tried again, her voice now tense. You don't understand what's at stake. Eliza isn't just gifted. She represents a breakthrough in human potential. The work we did. It's changing what's possible. You mean the work you did without proper consent or oversight? Frank challenged. There were consents, the thin man insisted. All participants signed extensive documentation. Deceptive documentation, I countered. Jack never knew the full extent of what you were doing. As the adults argued, Eliza had been watching quietly, her intelligent eyes taking everything in. Now, she spoke again. I don't want to go with you, she said to Weston. I want to stay with my mommy and grandma. Sweetheart, it's not that simple, Weston said, crouching to Eliza's level. Your brain is very special. You can do things other children can't. Don't you want to understand why? Learn how to use your abilities? I already know why, Eliza replied. You changed my DNA to make me smart. But you also made me different. The other kids at playgroup know I'm not like them. They don't want to play with me. The simple sadness in her voice struck me to the core. In our focus on protecting Eliza from the Walker family, had we overlooked the challenges she was already facing? We can help with that, Weston promised. Our school has other children like you. Children who understand. Other experiments, Eliza said flatly. Weston flinched at the word. Other gifted children, she corrected. No, Eliza stated firmly, backing toward Amanda and me. I'm staying with my family. The thin man sighed, checking his watch. This is becoming tiresome. Dr. Weston, shall I call for backup? Before she could answer, the sound of car doors slamming came from outside. Frank moved to the security monitor again. More visitors, he reported. Looks like Patricia Winters? And she's not alone. My heart sank. They'd brought Patricia as a backup plan, perhaps with additional falsified documents claiming maternal rights. But when the front door burst open, it wasn't just Patricia who entered. Behind her was a team of people, including a distinguished older man I recognized instantly from news coverage. Senator Howard Fitzgerald, chairman of the Ethics Committee on Genetic Research. Dr. Weston, the senator said coldly, I thought I might find you here. Weston's face drained of color. Senator, this is unexpected. Is it? When my office received evidence of illegal genetic experimentation on human embryos, your name featured prominently. He held up a flash drive identical to the one in my hand. Courtesy of Miss Winters here, who appears to have had a crisis of conscience. Patricia stepped forward, not meeting my eyes. I'm sorry for my part in this. They, the Walker family, they promised to help me have a child of my own if I cooperated. Claimed they could use the same technology. I was desperate, and they took advantage of that. You were working with them all along, Amanda accused. Yes, Patricia admitted. But when they started talking about taking Eliza by force if necessary, using fraudulent court orders, I couldn't be part of it anymore. She looked at Eliza then, her expression softening. No child should be treated like property, even a special one. The senator turned to Weston and her companion. I'm placing you both under investigation, effective immediately. The court orders you're carrying have already been flagged as potentially fraudulent by my office. Judge Pearson will be facing his own inquiry. Weston straightened, her professional demeanor cracking. You don't understand what you're interfering with, Senator. The advances we've made, the potential benefits to humanity. Save it for the Ethics Committee. The senator cut her off. Scientific advancement never justifies experimenting on children without proper oversight and consent. As federal agents began escorting Weston and her colleague from the house, the senator turned to us. Mrs. Thompson. Mrs. Thompson. He nodded to both Amanda and me. Your family has been through an ordeal. I give you my personal assurance that a full investigation will be conducted. The Walker family's influence is substantial, but not above the law. After they had all gone, leaving us in stunned silence, Eliza looked up at the three adults who had fought so hard to protect her. Are the bad people gone now? For real? Amanda knelt, gathering her daughter in a tight embrace. Yes, sweetheart. I think they really are. Frank squeezed my shoulder. It's over, Mildred. You did it. You protected your family. But as I watched Eliza, her small face wise beyond her years, I knew our challenges weren't entirely behind us. She was still a genetically modified child with abilities we didn't fully understand. She would still face a world that might not know what to make of her differences. Yet looking at the fierce love in Amanda's eyes as she held her daughter, and feeling the same love swelling in my own heart, I knew one thing with absolute certainty. Whatever came next, we would face it together, as a family. Grandma? Eliza called, extending one hand toward me. Are you coming? Mommy says we can make cookies now. The bad people are gone and we should celebrate. With tears blurring my vision, I took her small hand in mine. Yes, sweetheart, Grandma's coming. And I think cookies are exactly what we need. 1 year can change everything. The seasons turned, holidays came and went, and slowly our little family found a new rhythm, a new normal, that none of us could have imagined when that mysterious birth certificate first appeared in my mailbox. The investigation into the Walker family and the Prometheus Initiative revealed a sprawling network of ethical violations, falsified records, and coerced participants. Senator Fitzgerald's committee hearings dominated headlines for months. Dr. Weston lost her medical license. The Walker family's biotech empire crumbled under the weight of the scandal, their stock plummeting as investors fled. But those were just headlines to us. Our real story was much simpler and much more profound. Learning to be a family. Today, we were celebrating Eliza's 4th birthday. Our backyard was decorated with streamers and balloons. A homemade cake waited on the picnic table, decorated with wobbly purple flowers that Eliza and I had piped together that morning. More guests arriving, Frank called from the patio. In the year since the confrontation, he had become a permanent fixture in our home. After decades of friendship with my late husband, Frank had stepped into our lives as protector, advisor, and eventually, something more. The silver ring on my left hand caught the sunlight as I waved to the new arrivals. They were a special group, these guests. 3 families with children like Eliza, all victims of the Prometheus Initiative. We had found each other through the support group established by Senator Fitzgerald's office. Different ages, different backgrounds, but all sharing the same fundamental challenge: raising children who had been genetically modified without their parents' informed consent. Tyler! Eliza called excitedly, running to greet a boy about her age, with serious eyes and a tentative smile. Like Eliza, Tyler showed signs of enhanced cognitive abilities, processing information at an astonishing rate. Unlike Eliza, he also demonstrated physical enhancements, with extraordinary coordination and reflexes. They're getting along better, Amanda noted, coming to stand beside me. She looked younger somehow. The strain of years of secrecy and fear finally lifted from her shoulders. They understand each other, I replied, watching as Eliza showed Tyler her new telescope. That's no small thing. The support group had been Amanda's idea. Eliza needs peers, she had insisted. Children who won't think she's strange for knowing the capital cities of every country or being able to multiply 3-digit numbers in her head. She had been right. Watching the children playing together now, I could see the difference. They communicated in their own way, sometimes speaking in shorthand that baffled the adults, sharing observations and insights that seemed beyond their years. Patricia Winters was among the guests, too, her presence still somewhat awkward, but increasingly accepted. After testifying against the Walker family and undergoing intensive therapy, she had slowly earned a carefully defined place in our extended circle. Not a mother figure to Eliza, but something like a distant aunt, visiting occasionally under Amanda's watchful eye. She looks happy, Patricia said, coming to stand beside me, watching Eliza organize the children into some complex game of her own invention. She is, I agreed. Happier than I thought possible, given everything. Patricia nodded. I've started the adoption process, she said quietly. A little boy, 5 years old. Special needs, nothing to do with genetic modification, just a child who needs a home. That's wonderful, I said, meaning it. Every child deserves a family who loves them. You taught me that, she admitted. Watching you fight for Eliza, even when you had just discovered her existence. It made me realize what being a parent really means. As the party progressed, I found myself taking mental snapshots of the moment. Amanda laughing as she helped Eliza blow out her candles. Frank presiding over the grill with mock seriousness. The children from the support group finding their own connection. Their differences becoming strengths when shared. Later, as the party wound down and guests began to leave, Amanda found me in the kitchen, packaging leftover cake. I've been meaning to show you something, she said, pulling an envelope from her pocket. It came yesterday. Inside was an official document. Eliza's new birth certificate, no longer fraudulent. It listed Amanda as mother, Jack as father, and included an addendum recognizing me as legal guardian alongside Amanda, a precaution we had established to ensure Eliza would always be protected. It's real now, Amanda said softly. All of it. Legal. Recognized. It always was real, I told her, thinking of how quickly Eliza had claimed a place in my heart. Papers just make it official. That evening, after Eliza had been tucked into bed with her new stuffed penguin and the house had quieted, I sat on the porch swing with Frank, watching fireflies blink in the gathering dusk. Penny for your thoughts, he said, his arm comfortable around my shoulders. I was thinking about Jack, I admitted, wondering what he would make of all this. His daughter. The work he unknowingly became part of. Us. I gestured between Frank and myself. Frank considered this. I think he'd be proud of how you fought for his daughter, of how you've helped Amanda become a stronger mother, of how you've created something good from something that could have been only tragic. I hope so, I whispered. Grandma? A small voice came from the doorway. Eliza stood there in her pajamas, her hair tousled from rolling in her bed. I can't sleep. Too many thoughts. Come here, sweetheart, I said, patting the swing beside me. She climbed up, nestling between Frank and me like she belonged there. In so many ways, she did. Were you talking about Daddy? She asked, her perceptions still sometimes startling me. Yes, I admitted, wondering what he would think about everything. Eliza was quiet for a moment. I think he knows, she said finally. Sometimes in my dreams, I see a man who looks like me. He doesn't say anything, but he smiles. Is that silly? Not at all, I assured her, smoothing her curls. Some connections go beyond what we can explain. We sat there together, the three of us, watching night settle over the yard where just hours before laughter and celebration had filled the air. So much had changed in a year. So much would continue to change as Eliza grew, as our understanding of her unique abilities developed, as our family bonds strengthened and evolved. The road ahead would not always be easy. Eliza would face challenges unique to her situation. There would be decisions about education, about how much to reveal of her origins, about how to help her navigate a world that might not always understand what made her different. But in that moment, with this child who had come into my life through such extraordinary circumstances, I felt a sense of peace that had eluded me since Jack's death, not because the pain of losing him had disappeared, but because love had expanded to hold both the grief and the joy, the past and the future. "Grandma," Eliza murmured, half asleep now against my side. "I'm glad the birth certificate came to you. I'm glad you found me." "So am I, sweetheart," I whispered, pressing a kiss to her forehead. "So very glad." In the quiet of that summer evening, with crickets singing and stars appearing one by one above us, I reflected on the strange, painful, beautiful journey that had brought us here. From a mysterious document in my mailbox to this moment of tranquil belonging, life had unfolded in ways I could never have predicted. The birth certificate that had once seemed impossible, a cruel fraud or mistake, had led me to the greatest gift, a second chance at family, at purpose, at love. Eliza might have been created through science beyond my understanding, but she had been saved through something much more fundamental: the fierce, unwavering love of the people who recognized her not as an experiment, but as a child deserving of protection, belonging, and joy. As she drifted to sleep against me, her breathing deep and even, I silently thanked whatever twist of fate, whatever cosmic coincidence, had brought that envelope to my mailbox 1 year ago. Some might call it chance, others destiny. I simply called it the beginning of the rest of our lives. What would you do if you discovered a child you never knew existed was part of your family? How far would you go to protect them from those who saw them as property rather than a person? I'd love to read your thoughts in the comments below. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, subscribe to my channel for more family stories, and share with someone who understands that family is defined by love rather than just genetics. Thank you for listening, and may you cherish the unexpected gifts in your own life's journey.